Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to do a follow-up video on an upgrade that I did not too long ago, and I shot a video on this already, but we're going to go back through and look at it from a little different angle, and we're going to hear some sound clips as well. So this upgrade was on the EgglestonWorks OSO model, and if you remember back when I originally did the upgrade on this and shot the video on it, there was a pretty dramatic before and after. In fact, let's start with the measurements and just look at the on-axis response, and you can get an idea of why I decided to take this a step further and record some sound clips on this thing. Let's look at the original stock on-axis frequency response, and then right below it, let's look at the new frequency response that it's measured exactly the same way after I did the upgrade. Now, when I did the upgrade, for one, I brought the tweeter level down and balanced it because the tweeter level was a couple of dB hot at its peak. It was a little over 91 dB, and I brought it down to where that peak was just below 89, around 89. So a couple of dB down that I brought it, balanced it out a little bit more. This speaker has a side-firing woofer that we're not really picking up so much in the measurements. I had to allow for that and keep in mind there's some bottom end there that we're not far enough away to pick up. So it looks like it's starting to roll off a little there at the bottom end. Let's see, on this way. Yeah, on the bottom end as you're looking at it this way. And so I had to keep in mind that it's going to be elevated some because that lower frequency woofer down at the bottom is going to pick up some of that room response. So that's the reason of the tonal balance. It looks like it's climbing up just a little as it goes up. It's not really doing that. So it's actually really flat. Everything about the upgrade when I was done turned out really, really well. And the drivers are now in phase. Whereas before they were acoustically very out of phase. So knowing that this was going to be pretty significant, took these over to Ron's, and those things were set up in the sound shed, and Ron took his typical sound clips that he typically does. There were 6 different tracks that he uses, and he uses them over and over in a lot of the videos that he shoots, and it's music that can be played on YouTube without being penalized for the reproduction of that music. So it's something it's legal for him to put on there and still monetize the site because he pays for the use of these particular tracks. So we set this thing up and took the recorded sound clips, and then later, after I was through with the upgrade on the pair, took speakers back over there and Ron did sound clips again. Now, before I dig into the sound clips, I want to talk a little bit about sound clips because you guys often ask me, let's hear before and after. Let's hear before and after. And I'm going to tell you right now, unless you're actually hearing the speakers, you're not really hearing everything that's changed within the speaker. When you hear a recording of that and you play it back on a set of headphones or something, you're not hearing what we hear when we're actually sitting there. When we're actually in the room with these things, there is a lot of differences that the microphones won't pick up. Or if they pick it up, they don't have a brain connected to that microphone to discern time arrivals and distances and things like that that we hear. And it's elements within the music that create this three-dimensional sound where there's separation, there's placement, there's depth, and there's things like that. And the microphones don't discriminate against any of that stuff. Time arrival aspects and where things are in the sound stage are pretty well lost. And we've noticed, because we've gone back to back in his listening room, listening to the recorded sound clips and then taking them back off and listening to the speakers and making those same comparisons. And it's not even close. The sound clips, they just don't pick it up, or that you can't reproduce it when you're playing it back on your system or a set of headphones. Even some really high quality headphones like the ones we've been using, you just don't get it. So that being said, I'm going to say 80 to 90% of the differences that are present with a lot of these upgrades, you won't get in a sound clip. But sometimes, like in this case, the difference is so great, you still get it in the sound clips. You can still easily hear it. And I thought for sure, because of this hole in the response, there's going to be areas where there's things in the music that are within that range that are going to be sucked out. And I was right. Of course there is. But surprisingly, that wasn't the biggest difference in the upgrade. There was a greater difference in the quality of the parts. And I know you guys always hear me talking about quality of parts, and how a lot of those cheesy parts and stuff create smearing. And often you guys say, I've got those speakers, I'm listening to them right now, I don't hear any smearing. Well, that's because you don't have anything to reference it to. When you compare it to the same speaker with all the smearing gone, the things you actually do hear is a decay structure that's built into every instrument and even the vocals. A natural and nice, perfectly captured decay structure that the cheesy parts smear over. Like it just smudges over that stuff and you don't hear the decay. And after listening to these sound clips back and forth quite a bit, the one thing that really stood out to me is decay structure. That's something that the microphones pick up. It doesn't pick up so much the sound stage size, but it picks up tonality, detail, and decay structure pretty well. So let's get right into some of these sound clips. There's 6 different clips that Ron uses quite a bit, and let's talk about them and play them kind of back to back. I'm going to give you a little commentary on these things because you don't have the privilege of hearing the system itself. So you're missing a lot of it. But there's still a lot that's still present even in the sound clips. So this first track, I always recognize it because it's a male voice. He always says engineer as if he's saying engineer, but it always sounds like engineer. When you listen to the original from the stock speaker, it sounds flat. Like there's no decay on a tambourine or something there that's being shaken. It's just there. It's just a sound, and there's just no vibrance to it at all. When you listen to the version that is upgraded, there's more space. There's more space around everything, and the clarity is much greater, and there's a shimmering detail that you hear on those tambourines. You can hear that trailing edge is all present. So check that out in the sound clip of this first one.
Engineer, where are you headed? Engineer, where are you headed?
Now in the second sound clip, it's the plucking of a guitar type of sound, and on the original, again, by comparison, it's lacking decay structure. It's just flat. You hear the sound and you think, oh yeah, that sounds good, like as if you had that stock speaker and you were listening to it and you were thinking that, yeah, that sounds really good. It's reproducing it really well, but you don't realize, because you don't have a reference of what the original sounds like, that the reproduction through the stock crossover is not good at all. It's missing a lot of decay structure, and it's more delicate sounding. If you listen to the sound of those strings, much more delicate. Let's listen to those two. We're going to do those back to back and listen clearly. You can hear those differences easily. All right, the third track that we've done here, it's a female vocal, and again, the original, my views of it, it sounds dry, her vocal sounds dry. We're missing those upper harmonics that were in that hole, but we're also hearing some of the smeared effect of those cheaper parts that are in there. So strings that are going along with it in the background, no decay structure at all. We go to the upgraded crossover, again, open, bigger sounding. The strings are crisp. You hear it cleanly. All the detail that's actually in the recording comes through very well. Let's check that out.
No hubiera pensado que yo me iba a enamorar, jamás no quería saber nada más, nunca más. No hubiera pensado que yo me iba a enamorar, jamás no quería saber nada más, nunca más.
Track 4, it's a short one. It's a big intro, and again, no decay structure on the stock one, really flat sounding. And the upgraded crossover, nice decay, more size. There's more sustain upon each note. It's just so much cleaner in the way it sounds. So let's check out that intro. Track number 5 here. This one's drums, and at first you think, oh yeah, those drums sound really good, but you hear the hit of each drum, but again, the decay that goes off the trailing edge of each drum, it's very smeared. You just don't hear the decay structure there, and with the upgraded version, it's lifelike. The drums sound more real. In the nice decay structure, nice attack. Even in the attack, the strike of each drum, it's just so much clearer and so much better. So that one came through really well. Let's check it out. The last track, to me, surprisingly had the biggest difference of all the tracks that we recorded. It's a big, bombastic intro. It's like this huge symphonic attack of everything. And the original crossover reproduced it in a way that, by comparison, it's kind of dead sounding, to be honest with you. It's flat, it's dead sounding, it's just loud. It kind of reminds me of a lot of these groups when they record their music, where they turn up the compression and they just compress everything, and it's just a smoosh is the way it sounds. Versus when you listen to the second track, or the second play of that track with the upgraded crossover, it sounds big. I mean, really big and really open, and there's just no truncation to the dynamics. The dynamics seem so much cleaner and crisper. It's as if the tops aren't rolled off of each of those dynamic passages, and it's just a much fuller, bombastic sound. And again, you guys are only hearing of just a partial of the actual differences that really take place with these things. So this one was a really big upgrade. Even though it's a pretty expensive speaker, there's always room for improvement. And in this case, Eggleston didn't do such a great job on this stuff. When drivers are out of phase, things don't arrive in the soundstage where they're supposed to be. And in this case, now that this has been upgraded, the placement of things within the soundstage are going to be so much more precise and exactly where they're supposed to be. I've got more Egglestons coming as far as upgrades. They've already arrived. I've got some Andrea 2s, and I've noticed from the measurements that Stereophile took on that model, it also has this big hole in the response where the drivers are out of phase. So I don't know that they just didn't know what they were doing. I don't know. And I'm getting a lot of calls from customers that own a lot of the Eggleston speakers, so I may wind up doing a lot of these. I don't know. I'm going to try not to get bogged down into doing a bunch of assembly work, but I can understand some of the customers at this level aren't DIY guys. I'm going to see what I can do to help all of you. And again, I just want to reach out to Eggleston and say, guys, do you need a little help? I'll be glad to go through these models with you guys and do a little redesign, bring the parts level up, and do some improvements that would probably help your sales. So that's it for this one. I hope you guys like the follow-up, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.